In the old days, a generation woke up to the nationalization of major businesses and industries in the country, leading the economy to darkness that, until recently, the effects of which were being brushed aside. Nowadays, the world has witnessed the need to revisit the status quo and to start thinking about self-reliance, self-sufficiency in many aspects of the economy. Remember, in 2020, when countries realized that they cannot rely on the globalization that they once sang praises of, and remember the days when economic blocs were the pride and joy of politicians? Well, now the word localization has been introduced in many aspects of our lives and in a number of sectors in our economy. Does this mean that economies will follow an isolationist policy? Unrealistic to think so. But self-reliance in many areas needs to be re-examined. Good evening. You're watching the Business Insider. I'm Ayman Salah. Our weekly program tackles events affecting economies and businesses, and we aim to bring you the inside story. Let's start with the first news item we have for you this week. Investors, entrepreneurs and policy makers will gather in Sharm el-Sheikh for the Startup Festival on the 28th to 29th of March 2021. More than 80 startups will participate in the exhibition, which will feature panel discussions and workshops. The gathering will also unveil who is taking home hardware from the Egypt Entrepreneurship Rally competition. Companies attending will have the chance to pitch their ideas to investors. And moving on to our second news item, more than a dozen European countries are entering lockdown as they kick off the vaccination program. Countries around the world are seeing a significant rise in COVID-19 cases, snapping a 6-week streak of declines, partly due to the spread of more infectious variants of the virus, according to WHO officials. Global supply chains, this is the crux of the matter here. Global supply chains are at risk of further disruption thanks to unvaccinated sailors on board shipping vessels. Some countries, most notably China, are imposing vaccination requirements at their borders despite over half of the world's 1.7 million sailors coming from developing countries where vaccines won't be widely available before 2024. This mismatch in vaccine policies and availability threatened to result in chaos as sailors are barred from disembarking and are left stranded at sea. We'll be back, and when we return, we'll be discussing localization of technology. Our guest tonight is Dr. Hussam Osman, the advisor of the Minister of Information Technology he's the advisor for innovation and electronics. Stay with the Business Insider.
Localizing technology is a major objective in the transformation process. The Digital Egypt mega project rests on 3 main pillars: digital transformation, digital skills and jobs, and digital innovation, with an ultimate goal to transition the nation to a knowledge economy characterized by a highly skilled workforce, the creation of intellectual property and goods and services based on information-intensive activity. The government is leading digital transformation by developing, strengthening and diversifying the economy while bolstering technological knowledge and innovation. Investments have focused on improving ICT infrastructure and education, building capacity and encouraging innovation to improve the sector's contribution to economic growth. Digital transformation has spurred IT growth in 2019, with the ICT sector's contribution to GDP rising to 4%, up from 3.2% a year before. With its strategic location in the Middle East, the necessary infrastructure, an abundant supply of electricity, and 17 submarine cables, Egypt now ranks 5th in terms of fixed broadband speed in Africa, after investing approximately $1.6 billion and is well positioned for growth in the sector. Major investment in ICT education are taking place to ensure that the country's large youth population has the technical skills needed to excel in a tech-focused job market. Major initiatives include the Future Work is Digital government-sponsored online scholarship program, which offers free qualifications in data analytics, digital marketing and web development. The Digital Egypt Builders Initiative is another free scholarship scheme, providing postgraduate qualifications in specialties such as artificial intelligence, known as AI, cybersecurity, robotics and automation, while offering master's degrees and international certificates in leadership and management. This is in addition to the country's first artificial intelligence faculty at Kafr el-Sheikh University. Although the pandemic caused unemployment rates to increase, as in other countries, Egypt has a need for IT professionals. Investment in the technology sector increased by 300% in 2020, and there is an increased demand for tech-savvy workforce, particularly in areas such as software, security engineering, systems administrators and data analysts. Support for startups and entrepreneurs is central to Digital Egypt's innovation pillar. The strategy calls for investment in tech hubs. The country ranks second in established entrepreneurship ecosystems within the Middle East and North Africa, and a lot of this is taking place in the technology space, specifically among e-commerce, online businesses, as well as fintech, AI, and even blockchain startups. Technology hubs are encouraged and funded in universities across the country, including incubators and co-working areas with regular events designed to help the startup ecosystem to evolve. The aim is to create a pool of IT pros in the country and to reach a 7.7% GDP growth from the sector by 2030, a shift from being technology consumers to technology producers.
Welcome back. You're watching The Business Insider. Localizing technology is our topic for tonight. Our guest is Dr. Hussam Osman. He's the advisor for the Minister of Information and Communication Technology. He's an advisor for innovation and electronics. Dr. Hussam, a pleasure to have you on the show.
Pleasure. Thank you very much for having me. Pleasure to be here on national TV, for sure.
It's an honor to have you. And if I am to introduce you properly with all your credentials, I'll probably take all the time allotted for this program.
Thank you very much.
So let's get to the point and start with localizing IT. What does that mean?
So when you say localizing, you talk about the local added value.
Right.
Let's say that LAV, local added value. What is the percentage of locally added technologies and intellectual property in the country? That's how you measure it. Maybe a clear or simple way to say it, Let me give you an important example happening nowadays when we talk about localizing tablet manufacturing. Okay? So now in Egypt, everybody's talking about tablets, and it's being used for education, for Ministry of Education. And recently, we all read in the news that we are going to do it in Beni Suef in Egypt for the purpose of localizing the added value of this industry.
Right.
So now we all read that an agreement was reached with the government to do local manufacturing of tablet, starting with local added value of about 40%. So this means that you will produce local knowledge, local technology, that will add to 40% of the final product.
Here you're talking hardware or software?
It's both. But of course, it depends on how you measure it. But when you measure, you have the hardware part, you have the software part, and you need to reach in the total 40%.
Right.
Yeah, as a start. Maybe you started by hardware and part of the software, and then you start to increase the knowledge transfer.
Right.
So localization is so important because it means, in simple terms, transferring technology to the local population. It's important for national security, it's important for developing new technologies later on, so that you can have finally your own products and your own technologies at one step. Of course, it will apply with the same meaning to software. Like if I'm using software anywhere during the digital transformation of governments, it's important that part of the software to be locally developed. So it can be starting software is of course a little bit easier. You can start with like 50, 60%. For hardware, when it's a complex new technology like mobile phone, it's a little bit harder. But at the end, you need to calculate the local added value. And it's so important to the economic and the competition nowadays everywhere among the other states.
Because basically when you increase the local components, the local part, you're decreasing your imports of those parts.
Exactly.
Which means you are decreasing the amount of foreign currency that you're spending.
Exactly. Let me give you one example. If you talk about the mobile phone, okay? Like on average, every year we are talking about 18 million sets of mobile phone. Yes.
Sold in the Egyptian market.
Exactly. So it will sum up to 2.5 billion US dollar. Okay? So if you localize 40% of such industry, you will decrease the gap between imports and export by this amount. So it's so crucial in any country that you define what we call promising products. Promising products in simple terms, products that you need in your mega projects like education, healthcare, solar energy, all the different mega projects that Egypt is undertaking nowadays, and you see the products that you need. And if the product is promising when it comes to the size and the rate of growth, it's very important that you localize it.
Right.
That's for sure.
Right.
And that's why we have, like, when we talk about like the electronic strategy in mind nowadays, and you see that we are talking about tablets and other products, we have a set of products, including mobile phone, that we need to work on to localize.
There is an Egyptian mobile phone, but we don't hear about it.
Yeah, it's already there, but the market share is so small. Okay? Competition is not easy, and when you need to do localizing, you have to provide a set of incentives as well with it to support the local products in the competition, because it's extremely tough competition.
So it's not only about producing locally manufactured hardware or locally manufactured or locally innovated software, if you will, but it's also about the environment, the business environment, how you are incentivizing this sector, if you will, in order to compete. Do you think that we need to work harder on offering more incentives to entrepreneurs, to producers, to engineers?
So certainly yes, the answer is yeah. We have, like, at the end you mentioned that you have a gap between imports and exports when it comes to electronic and electrical components, and when it comes to software and technologies, you have a gap. So if you need to work on eliminating the gap, and you provide a set or a portfolio of incentives that can help you do so, first thing you do, you start with the mega projects, okay? And you put a condition in the mega project that you must transfer technology, like the case of the educational tablet. You must transfer technology. Part of fulfilling the need of the product, you need to work by transferring technology locally to Egypt so that you have local added value of your production in Egypt. That's number one. For all mega projects, whether digital transformation project, fiber cable project, healthcare project, power and energy project, and so on. This is number one. This is the incentive. You must insist that part of the production has to be made locally. Okay. The other one is related to increasing the other side. This is the demand. You have to work on the supply. So you give some incentives to entrepreneurs, some program to incubate their ideas, some incentives for the academia to work with the industry in collaboration. Incentives can be grants, can be better, or some exemptions from certain regulations and certain fees. We have different types of fees that we can talk about. And in this case, you are increasing both supply and demand.
Licensing and so on. Let me just share with you a brief story.
Sure.
When you talked about transfer of technology, it takes me to the China success story.
Okay.
In 1999, I believe, 2000, around that time, I was accompanying the late president to a visit to China. And part of the visit was to take us around Pudong, which was a free production area. It was something extraordinary for us at the time to see. And the philosophy that the mayor there was telling the president was for companies to come and invest and produce in China, you're more than welcome, but on one condition. If you want to sell your product in the Chinese market, which is over 1.7 billion consumers, then you have to give us the technology. So market in return for technology.
Exactly. That's exactly the deal. Like once you need to kind of come to this market, and it's an emerging market with a huge potential. And when you talk about Egypt, you are close to Africa and the Middle East and so on when it comes to the position. So it's a win-win scenario.
Right. So Egypt is not only about 100 million consumers.
Exactly. Exactly. Like we are trusted by many other countries around us. And when we start doing the local manufacturing in Egypt, many will wait for the Egyptian product to come up and be used by others. So it's a good gate. You can say it's a good gateway for the emerging markets in Africa and part of the Middle East.
In order to succeed in achieving this goal or these objectives, then you must have the proper infrastructure.
Yeah.
How are we in terms of infrastructure?
Okay, so I will talk about infrastructure in let me define some sub-parts of it, okay? The first one related maybe to the legislation. I'll talk about the legislation infrastructure, and things are very much improving. Like recently, we have the cybercrime law. We have now, hopefully soon, we'll get the executive regulation for the privacy and data protection law. We have a very important law, which is the law of incentives for innovation and science valley in universities and incubation in universities. This is a very important law. Hopefully, it can be somehow activated in a high profile for university to be an active player. And of course, we have the FinTech law by the Central Bank of Egypt. So you have a nice set of laws in a short period in recent couple of years, and that's a very good start for sure.
That's in terms of the legislature.
Yeah, you still need to do some work on some entrepreneurial terms when you mention things related to vesting and this VC term sheets. That venture capital term sheet that entrepreneurs understand. We still need to address some of these issues in the companies law in Egypt to have a more complete set of laws to attract the investors and so on to come to Egypt. When you talk about technology infrastructure, of course, now we are seeing again fiber optics cable everywhere, connect much better internet speed and so on. Still, we need many things more to do, but again, it's improving. Let me talk about what I see as an infrastructure, which is the knowledge infrastructure, okay, which is the universities in Egypt. Because at the end, universities are knowledge custodians. That's where you start generating startups and entrepreneurs, and you commercialize patents and research papers and so on. We need on this, like I consider university as an infrastructure on that, because it's a foundation layer. You need to set the foundations to educate the students, to educate the staff.
I beg to interrupt.
Sure.
And to just comment on one thing. Here you're addressing universities.
Yes.
But in this day and age, shouldn't we be addressing kindergartens up to universities?
Yeah, for sure. You are certainly right. It should be like, maybe I started by looking for a quick win now to do something fast.
Right.
But of course, you have to start from KG's stage, where you start changing the mindset to accept the terms of innovation and entrepreneurship and how to use technology as a tool. That's for sure. But for maybe a quicker win now to reach the what I see as an essential, crucial step that has to be taken nowadays, universities need to somehow get closer to the business spirit. We need to better connect universities with the business, with the mindset of entrepreneurship, not just education, but as well having a clear process for university staff to help or to be founders for startups that will be based on deep technology. That's how you will increase local added value, coming back to localization. Of course, you can come up with an idea that you run an app store on the internet, okay? But I'm hoping for deeper technology, for R&D based products and services, for innovation-driven product and services. To get such deep technology, you have to work more closer with the university, with of course faculty, staff, and to have a clear process to help them do it. You see, they call it an ecosystem. They don't call it a system.
Right.
They call it an ecosystem. Why? Because it's organic. Once you have universities, government, entrepreneurs, investors, VCs, and industry, whether multinational or local, working together in a very simple, straightforward way, organic way, that's how you will come up with technology-driven innovations and innovation-driven entrepreneurship. And you will come up with startups.
So here you have a number of tasks. One is to address the professors.
Yep.
2, to address the students. 3, to come up with a budget for research and technology.
Yes.
All of these together, you're talking about the ecosystem.
Yeah, the 5 players. And of course the government and the entrepreneur, which will be the students.
Right.
Yeah.
You need money for all of this.
Yeah, but we trust that investors, and I mean now we have in Egypt a good number of VCs. Venture capital firms, yeah, we have a good numbers, and by the way, the reason that we are looking for more, because every day now we hear in the news that one Egyptian startup received millions US dollar investment from here and there, locally and from Silicon Valley in the US and from European VCs and so on. So we see a great potential. And by the way, Egypt is ranked second when it comes to number of startup investment deals in Middle East and Africa. We are ranked second in number of startup investment deals.
That's like, after the UAE, probably.
Exactly, right. Exactly, yeah. Okay. Like, of course, when you talk about UAE, you talk about like a place, global place.
Right.
So you are competing against even some Egyptian there.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And and even we are the second in Africa as well, after Nigeria as well in Africa. When it comes to number of investment deals, when it comes to the size of investment, again we are second in the Middle East and North Africa. The ticket size in Egypt is not that big yet, like the investment size.
What do we need to be number one?
To be number one, it's again, you need to activate the role of universities. You need universities to, university staff and faculty to commercialize their patents, commercialize the research papers and technical reports, and to do it in a way that will be win-win to them, to the faculties and to the university, in addition, of course, to the whole state and the economy.
So that means that you need a business mindset in those universities.
Yes, yeah, that's why maybe one of the important programs that we do, initiative nowadays in collaboration with the His Excellency Ministry of Higher Education, we have a platform of innovation hubs. Like last year in 2020, we have now 6 hubs, and hoping to have maybe 6 more in this year. When we say a hub, it's an innovation center providing a full set of portfolio of services, incubation, acceleration, capacity building and training, lab for prototyping. So we have these hubs on campus of governmental universities in Menia, in Mansoura, in Menoufaia, in Sohag, in Ena, in Aswan, soon in Ismailia. So these hubs will be a location, a gateway to connect universities with industries. And that's the key point to move on to the first place that we are all hoping for.
You have an AI faculty in Kafr Sheikh University, Artificial Intelligence?
And some others, yes. AI now is of course, like, you see, let me say it that way, like they say now it's a knowledge economy, okay? When you say it's a knowledge economy, like 5 years back, you were talking about knowledge-enabled economy, meaning that using knowledge-intensive activities like R&D, you come up with technology innovation, and technology innovation will come up with very good product and services where you can compete. 5 years ago, okay? Now when you say knowledge economy, it's about monetizing knowledge. As they say, data is the new oil. You're monetizing data. It's a data economy where you sell
put value.
You put value for data and you sell data. That's all platforms, like all the different platforms now in all different kinds of applications in the health sector.
So at the end of the day, what's it going to be worth?
Yeah,
how much money?
Exactly, because you are selling this in different business models, and that's where you generate money. So what we need to do, we need to educate everybody in the ecosystem how to sell a network. You are not selling a product, you are not selling a service, you are selling a network, a platform. That's where you get the exponential rate of growth. That's where in few days or few years now, actually in some cases in few days you get millions of customers rather than waiting for 10 years to have 100 customers. But now you have millions of customers, and these millions of customers that will add value to your product, and it will make an economic impact, a huge economic impact. Yeah.
One of the benefits of using technology is to decrease human interaction.
Yeah.
We all know that when you want to address certain negative impacts on a society, if you come up with a technological idea or an application, for example, and you decrease human interaction, this will save the country money, it will save the individual money and effort, it will even save the environment, save the environment from pollution, if you will, by going into the street, driving your car, and so on and so forth. But in order to increase the services that are provided to our citizens, you need a good database.
Yeah.
Have we reached this stage yet?
I think we are very close to, but I am hoping for more data. Like when we talk about the regular or the classical definition of data, like the data when you say national ID numbers, data related to subsidies, to the different services provided by health insurance and so on. We are close. Now we are consolidating many databases, and we are seeing now the Digital Egypt platform where we're starting to provide services based upon a good set of data. But when they talk about the new dimension for economic growth, they talk about what they call behavior data. It's not the data on the table, it's the data between the different tables on the floor. Behavior data, like the data when you use certain when you use certain applications, like now when I go and search on the web, and they know everything about me. They know, like they give me some recommendations that I type this instead of that. So they have a profile for myself. They know my behavior. They know even when I click. And by the way, Chinese is very good at that, even compared to the others. They know when you open the video, not just whether you will open this YouTube video or not, but when you open it, which section of the video that you will hear, you will listen. That's why, I mean, when you mentioned your trip to China experience, that's why now we have on the top 10 Chinese companies. In addition, I mean, I'm talking about market value when it comes to the market cap for companies. You have Chinese now companies competing against the US companies on the top 10.
Right.
And many of them are based on technology innovation. So they do it, and that's why the importance of AI, that you collect the data, you collect two types of data, the classical data and the behavior data. You have, you need to understand your behavior, what you do to get a service as a citizen, what kind of service you are looking for, and at what time, and in which location you are looking for this service. If you collect this kind of data and you add AI applications to it, big data analytics, you analyze and you learn, you will provide much better services and much better products. And this will be very beneficial to the citizen and to the country as well. And that's how you generate money. I mean, if you see all the success stories of Egyptian entrepreneurs nowadays, you will find that they sell data and they have a platform. They act as a broker. They connect producers and consumers. The same model everywhere by all the social media platforms.
Right.
They connect. Sometimes the producer is the same as the consumer, and sometimes they're different. Okay, in social media, you put content and you read content. So you are producer and consumer. But everywhere, they teach this what's called the platform strategy for entrepreneurship. I believe this is a very good strategy even for government. That's how you can create sustainability for service and you improve them. For AI, it will be used to improve. I mean, it's augmenting, it's assisting humans. It will improve the service quality and will reduce its cost. So I see it better for everybody. I don't see anything to fear like regarding using AI technology in such an application, but you have to use it in the right way and you collect the right amount of data. And by the way, when you mentioned like infrastructure, I forget to mention the data centers. It's an important part of the infrastructure. You need to have in Egypt a big, like 1,000 rack or more data centers to ensure that your data inside your borders and to be able to generate the knowledge that you are looking for the economy. That's how you analyze your own data. You have your wealth now. We mentioned it's a data economy. So you need to have you gather your own data, you analyze your own data, generate your own knowledge based on that data. And that's how a country like Egypt with 100 million population can make much more impact and much more money than what we're doing now.
Where is the informal economy in all of this? Meaning, there is a huge informal economy in the country that does not rely on technology.
Okay.
And technology can be a main asset to this informal sector.
Yes.
And it can be a huge money generator for the economy.
Of course, yeah. So one step is you need to get it closer to technology without opening all the topics at the same time. Like you don't have to talk about adding them to the formal economy at the same time when you talk about using technology. Like if you first give them some perception that technology will help them grow. Like I will give you an example. Like when we talk about freelancing in Egypt, we have maybe, I don't know, like some estimates talk about millions, but let me say hundreds of thousands of freelancers getting money through the different social media channels and doing business online in many famous freelancing platforms. So they sell products, they provide services, whether products even related to food and beverage, related to handicrafts and so on. So we need to, this kind of big, very big sector, we needed to use technology because at the end, this will get money into the country.
So you need to attract them.
Yeah, we need to attract them using technology and make them feel that technology will let them grow. That's one point. And then you have to approach them with a full package, like nice package, with incentives to them. What will happen when they starting coming into the formal and the formal economy, like legal system, what they will benefit in return to what they will give. I think if you do this as a two-step approach, it will be a win-win. Yeah.
Why would companies from abroad come set up shop in Egypt? Where's our competitive edge?
The recent report about, one popular recent report said that like Cairo in particular is among the top 10 ecosystems worldwide when it comes to finding the right talent at competitive cost. So that's number one. It's young population, very innovative by nature, and this is true. I mean, it's not, I'm a university professor myself and I work with them. So they know how to think out of the box. They know how to get, they need some guidance when it comes to understanding the whole business model. But they have the basic instinct to innovate. Okay? So we have a young population. And by the way, we have a very good number of techies as well. Like techies, like technical guys. Yeah, we have good numbers, and even if they are not graduates from computer engineering and computer science, even if they are graduates of other faculties and university, not in that specialization, but they know how to deal with technology. So number one, it's a big talent pool, a good number of graduates every year. Of course, number two, it's a big market, 100 million, and as we mentioned, it's a good gateway to Africa and the Middle East. So your location and the market size is so important. Your own market size and your own location. And you have a very good base. You have many successes, successful stories. And like Egyptians on the individual level, they did it in many surrounding countries. They went there and they were key pillars for building, civilizations and building, doing many enhancements to many surrounding countries. So we have the material at the end. So when you have a brand wants to use this good set of assets for their own, I see it as a very natural steps to take. So every week or couple of weeks, we see one sample, one example of these companies coming to Egypt and opening an office here.
What would be the strategic priorities for the IT sector post-COVID?
Okay, post-COVID. So in post-COVID, you need now somehow to think how to succeed using non-traditional channels. And one of them will be freelancing. Okay, so one thing very strategic we do in the ministry that we teach freelancing. Freelancing is so important that you can be in ENA, in Aswan, and working with a company overseas. So we have an initiative, we call it Future Work is Digital. It's a free initiative, governmental initiative, where we provide learning how to be a good freelancer, and at the same time we connect you with the best freelancing platforms worldwide. You get a nice badge. When you apply for a gig, a freelancing job, you are ranked first to be seen. So it's a very important initiative, and we still have 9 months to go. So hopefully everybody will apply on it's egfwd.com, and it's for free.
So you're building on the call center successes.
Exactly, because at the end now with COVID, maybe you are at home, but you need to survive. So you post-COVID, you have to depend on yourself to be a freelancer. You need to, in addition to your job, even if you have a job, even if you are a student, you need to know how to make living, how to earn your money. And it's easy now. You have the computer, just one click away to be a freelancer. And we teach them in digital marketing, so you don't have to be a graduate of computer science to be a good digital marketeer. We teach them data science, how to analyze data, how to use, starting from simple tools to very much big data advanced tools. And we teach them the specialized web development and mobile development. So you have 3 tracks. You can start from level 0, where you know nothing, until guru level, where you know too many things. But you still need more education to produce better gigs. So number one, as a strategic direction, you build capacity of Egyptian talent everywhere through online platforms, so it's accessible in Arish, it's accessible in Halab Shalatin, it's accessible in Saloum Matrouh, that you can educate yourself to be freelancer. Second thing, you need to foster innovation and entrepreneurship. This is so important.
And the third thing?
And the third thing is, based on that, you have to educate everybody how to use technology for digital transformation.
I would go back and say, if you want to achieve all of this, you have to start from kindergarten.
Sure, I certainly agree.
Osman,
Pleasure.
advisor for the Minister of Information Communication Technology for Innovation and Electronics. A pleasure having you on the show.
Pleasure is mine. Thank you very much for having me.
Certainly have more rounds to discuss this issue.
Thank you very much.
Again and again. Thank
it's a great pleasure to be here.
Thank you for being with us here tonight. See you again same time next week. I'm Ayman Salah. Good night.